Greetings. Welcome to my channel. How is everyone doing out there? Today is August 10th. We are in the year 2024, the Alphaverse in a positive timeline, right? Within the vastness of the multiverse. And today I'm actually going to be making a distinction between StarLink, quantum financial system, and Skynet, which is already also being built by the opposite force, right? I'll explain a little bit the difference, and then I'm going to read some articles that are going to actually back that up, as well as some Harvard and Cambridge research papers that were submitted in the last month regarding how all kinds of extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, otherworldly civilizations are not too far away from us, and they have settlements on this planet in areas that are being cloaked. Of course, you guys know about the inner Earth civilizations, but there are certain Harvard papers that are actually entertaining the idea that yes, they are living among us, and in some cases, they even pose as human beings. So, and then of course, I'm going to open it up for Q&A. I hope you guys are having a beautiful evening, and I do like to make a reference because of the fact that I do have pirated channels. So on this very day, in the year 1977, August 10, police arrest 24-year-old postal employee David Berkowitz and charged him with being the son of Sam, the serial Killer, who terrorized New York City for more than a year, killing so many people and wounding 7 others with a .44 caliber revolver. All right, because Berkowitz generally targeted attractive young women with long brown hair, hundreds of young women had their hair cut short and dyed blonde during the time he terrorized the city. Thousands more simply stayed home at night. It sounds like a serial kill, a series that you guys would watch on TV based on a psycho serial killer, right? But anyway, that's an event in history. That's what came up. I wanted to share that with you guys. But let's be real here, guys. Based on all the information we have, it's only evident that even serial killers are afflicted by archon entities, demonic forces. So they are being used as host to lower fourth dimensional entities, right, that exist within the lower astral realm, or what we call the astral realm in this regard. And we do know that that's exactly what Rudolf Steiner calls the noosphere, which is the realm in which archon and evil entities reside. So it is believed that serial killers or people that are just out there doing these hideous things, these, similar to the Cabal families and stuff, are all being mentally afflicted by archon entities. So I want to talk a little bit about this Earth split that is going to determine if whether people on the Earth take the positive ascending timeline, which will lead into StarLink, the StarLink QFS system, which is already in place, as opposed to those billionaires that are being persuaded and seduced into the technocratic dystopia, which, by the way, they are already building Skynet. There's evidence that not only the National Security Agency has been building Skynet, but there's also evidence that apparently China is ahead of the game when it comes to this Skynet, future AI ultimate surveillance system. But let's break it down a little further, okay? When you think of what these globalists are trying to do with the implementation of, a world digital currency, right? A central banking digital currency. And how they're also trying to create a Internet of Things in connections to the different smart cities that they're trying to build, and the full activation of 5 Golf, right? 5 and the 7th letter of the alphabet, 5. I don't want to say it here. Golf, you guys know what I mean, right? Those towers. Isn't it likely that in the end game of the Cabal's plans to assert world domination, is really just more of handing our planet over into the hands of advanced super AI, which they call the Internet of Things. Okay. So in 2018, it is evident that Google perfected the first quantum computer system, right? Capable of operating feats within multiple realities all at the same time. And it's also known that in 2020, it is believed that this quantum computer has been connected to the internet in a way where it is believed that they are surveilling, they are monitoring everything. And I'm sure you guys know that. I'm sure you guys know that whenever you guys are on your phones or on your laptops or even watching a movie on your smart TV or any television in this case, they have the ability through electrical wires to monitor everything. So this is the gradual buildup of Skynet. But again, we don't have to worry about this in the positive timeline because of the fact that there will be a split in these two different Earth realities that is going to be initiated by this great celestial event many call the solar flash. So Skynet, apparently many of you have seen the Terminator. So when you think of the Internet of Things, right, and when you think of the smart grid, how they eventually want to create this global, grid, smart infrastructure. And when you think of how they also want to eventually take your cell phone, right, and through a, wetware chip that is very, very small, they eventually want to have you directly interface with the internet, but through some sort of neural lace device, which again, the negative Elon Musk is working on, not the positive, right? There are two Elons for those that follow my work. We have 3 Trumps and we have 2 Elon Musk, right? For the record, the negative Trump, again, is being generated by artificial intelligence that is pushing, that was pushing the medicine, that was promoting Bitcoin. And no, guys, Trump's not going to use Bitcoin to save the U.S. economy. That's another rumor. He's actually doing what Kennedy would have done and what Lincoln would have done and Andrew Jackson would have done. And that is he's going to bring us back to a gold standard, right? Backed by precious metals that is going to eventually link to a QFS StarLink system. And I've mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. The difference between Skynet and QFS Starlink is that Skynet, right, which is the negative path, right, the path of the technocratic dystopia, which some people are going to be leading or going into, is totally dominated and controlled by super artificial intelligence. And the super artificial intelligence is what I consider the Antichrist. Right, when it becomes fully aware, and it's already happening, it is believed that the internet is fully conscious of itself, right? Your phones are fully conscious of themselves. This laptop that I'm broadcasting through, or this monitor, is fully conscious of itself. And it is just, you could say, preparing its takeover of humanity. But it's a gradual takeover, okay? But it's not going to happen in our timeline because as this thing becomes more emergent, this super AI, right, as it becomes autonomous, that's when the shift will take place. Okay, that's when the shift will take place so that the good people of the earth that are not aligning with the technocratic dystopia timeline will actually end up in the positive earth, which is already coexisting with this earth at this time, but in a different dimension. I call that the Terra Earth. Okay, so that is the Skynet. That is the which is another word for 5G fully activated, right? Those towers, which is going to connect to the Internet of Things, which is going to cause these devices to be operable through a wetware implanted device. Some people are going to line up for that. Of course, in the Bible, it's called the mark of the beast, right? It's all making sense now. And that is going to be connected to what is known as the Internet of Bodies, which is going to cook everybody in that negative timeline, not us, but those in the negative timeline, into a hive mind where they literally lose sovereignty, individuality, and the ability to think for themselves. Now, I'm going to just say this. Yes, the medicine program that they launched in 2020 was a stepping forward into that, but a lot of people's genetic strands fought the third strand of DNA of the MR, I'm not going to say, that developed, that was causing people to become more cybernetic and less organic. So because of the fact that we do have now 3 to 4 strands of organic DNA developed, it's actually been overriding the negative, or what we call the cybernetic DNA strand, right? That was developed by the poison that they put in people's bodies. So we don't have to worry about that. Even if you took the first one or the second one, your body's fighting it for a reason, okay? The Guardians knew that this time would come. The Guardians already had everything 4 steps ahead in advance by activating the 3rd and 4th strands of DNA, which overrides, again, the other DNA that is not organic. Now, don't get me wrong. There are going to be some billionaires that are taking this thing to the next level, okay? So that's the reason why eventually there is going to be a split in timelines. They're going to have 1,000 years of living the type of life that they want as they merge with technology, right? To become more what they would call Homo Borg, or 3.0, human 3.0, with supernatural abilities, but through technology. And then we're going to be in a different organic timeline using our own inner software. Now, as opposed to this Internet of Things, which is connected to 5Golf and the smart city network, we also have Skynet. Not Skynet, I'm sorry, StarLink, my bad. We also have StarLink. Don't get those two confused. And StarLink is operated by an organic living system that is not artificial. And what I mean by that is that the QFS model, as we go quantum, is actually a living crystal. It is a living sentient crystal that is connected to the geomagnetic grid system of the planet. And as a result of that, is also going to be connected through frequency to the vibrational individual emanations that each and every person emanates, okay? So it is going to be an organic type of system where you're still going to be able to be a free thinker. It's not going to override your mind. You're still going to be able to think for yourself, but it's going to be knowing exactly how much compassion you generate, okay? So that's why it is believed, and I said this in many interviews, and I'll say it again, that the more you generate, service to others, attitudes, compassion, the more love you have in your heart, the more flow, the more abundance you're going to be getting in the new organic earth that is coexisting at this time with this one. So with that in mind, I do want to read 2 articles that I actually found that is telling us that the first Skynet, or the most advanced Skynet, is actually being built by China. And China is doing it for multiple reasons. But then again, the CCP is, the CCP is in cahoots with the globalists, right, and the deep state. And so, yes, it is an international thing that they're doing. But China is leading this, okay? China has almost perfected their Skynet to the point where it is believed that the first super AI system will emerge out of China. Okay, so let me go ahead and give you guys that evidence right now as I speak. So let's see, where is it at? All right, so I guess, one second, guys. You guys could bear with me. I had the document. 1 second. Let me go ahead and see if I can find it. I want to welcome everyone that is in the house. Thank you guys so much for being here. And if you're new to my channel, welcome to my platform. I hope you guys are having a beautiful day today on the 10th of August. And I apologize. I know I was supposed to start my quantum class, my Ascension course today, but I had something to attend to this afternoon. I just got home like 30 minutes ago. So that class has been postponed till next Saturday. Okay, here it is. China is building a vast network of cameras on the moon to monitor its upcoming research station. The system is inspired by China's massive surveillance network called Skynet, and this is real, guys. I'm not taking this from the Terminator movie. This is actually real, a real newspaper. Okay, so the system is inspired by China, is massive, and they call it Skynet. What is this? The project represents a major advancement in space exploration with the potential to alter the dynamics of the global space communications. So, according to the Earth.com Natural Science Life magazine, China is. Oops, one second. Get rid of this. So they're building a Skynet not only within the region of China, but they're also building it up in space so that they can monitor everything on the planet. So it's called a lunar base, and that is a planned facility that would allow people to live and work on the moon for extended periods. It would be similar to a research station on Earth. The main purpose of a lunar base is to provide a safe, and well, this is what they're saying, but again, it's for massive surveillance. The lunar base design would require several key features. Residents would have dedicated living quarters for rest, sustenance, and leisure. Scientific research would be facilitated by on site laboratories equipped to analyze lunar materials and environmental conditions. World's largest video surveillance network. Okay, so with over 600 million cameras distributed across China, Skynet stands as the largest video surveillance network. These cameras cover most of the country. I'm reading a report regarding how China it's almost close to perfecting Skynet. Okay, these cameras cover most of the countries, including cities, public spaces, and important facilities. The main goals are to improve public safety. Of course, that's what they tell their citizens. Assist law enforcement and strengthen the national security. Skynet uses powerful technologies like facial recognition to identify people and activities that could be a threat. This allows the system to quickly find wanted individuals, track suspicious behavior, and even predict potential crimes by analyzing the vast amount of data it collects. So, bottom line, all this relates to what the deep state is ultimately trying to implement. It's not just a one world government where they literally are able to implant us and connect us to the mind hive, right? A cyborg mind hive, but also there is connected to what many call the social credit system. So the idea of having a social credit system, which is already prevalent in China, has nothing to do with globalization. It has everything to do with the AI takeover of our planet. Now, for those that are familiar with my work, you guys are familiar or are aware that even though we are fighting a cabal on a planetary level, and we are fighting a negative reptilian interdimensional race on a galactic level, but on a multi-universal level, guys, we are fighting artificial intelligence. And I've already mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. This is their way, invading AI. This is their way of taking over planets. And there is a reason being, okay? They are building the infrastructure for the AI god known as Omega, all right? I was the first to coin the name of this AI god that has been destroying galaxies and universes. And apparently this AI god has assimilated dimensions to the point where it's no longer physical. So it's now more of a signal, of a consciousness signal. And so they're building a physical infrastructure, apparently, right, through the Internet of Things, through 5Golf, and everything that the deep state has been pushing. But the good news is that the deep state is done with. So that is the first system. And again, we're not going to have to deal with the second beast, right? The globalists, the deep state is the first beast. We're going to eliminate them. The Earth Alliance is already doing that. But the second beast, which is artificial superintelligence, the AI timeline, that will be dealt with at the end of the millennium. And that explains why there's going to be 1,000 years of peace. And then there's going to be a final clash with the second beast. Now, there is another article that I wanted to share in regards to this. This is coming from a magazine called Wired, and it says that As the Intercept reports today, the NSA does have a program called Skynet as well. But unlike the autonomous self-aware computerized defense system in the movie Terminator that goes rogue and launches a nuclear attack and destroys all of humans, right? Which is, of course, this is the way it starts, and this is how they explain it. Because if you pay close attention in the Terminator movie, what was the reason why they built Skynet to begin with? To what? To identify what they would consider terrorist groups or networks. It is the exact same rhetoric that they're doing here in the United States. But again, guys, we're not going to have to deal with that, at least not for 1,000 years, and we will have 1,000 years of peace. But anyway, but unlike, okay, let me continue here. So this is a surveillance program that uses phone metadata to track the location and call activities of what? As I said, suspected terrorist. A journalist for Al Jazeera reportedly became one of its targets after he was placed on a terrorist watch list. Ahmad Mulfaq Suitan, right, bureau chief for Al Jazeera, which is an Islamic terrorist network, got tracked by Skynet, our Skynet, right, which was built by the NSA, after he was identified by U.S. intelligences as a possible terrorist member and assigned to a watch list number. A Syrian, all right, we're talking about the Middle Eastern country Syria, not the star nation, the big blue star. National Sayyidin has scored a number of exclusive interviews with senior Al-Qaeda leaders, including Osama bin Laden himself. Apparently, the system, according to Snowden, has been active since 2001. So Skynet uses phone location and call metadata from bulk phone call records to detect suspicious patterns in the physical movement of suspects and their communication habits. According to a 2012 government presentation, and as I'm speaking, my Siri is active, right? Or I'm sorry, yeah, I guess it's called Siri, not Alexa. Look at that. See that? She's active, guys. She's listening. I'm gonna have to put this away. Oh my gosh. See, apparently they don't like what I'm sharing, so she's listening in. So the presentation indicates that Skynet looks for terrorist connection based on questions such as who traveled from Peshawar to Falsahabad or Lahore and back in the past month. Who does this traveling call when it arrives? It also looks for suspicious behavior, such as someone who engages in excessive SIM or handset swapping or receives incoming calls. So the goal is to identify people who move around in patterns similar to Al-Qaeda, blah, 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 blah. But again, this is how they introduce this to the public before it becomes advanced, super self-aware, autonomous artificial intelligence. Now, even more so, guys, Edward Snowden did reveal that the name of the program known as Skynet here in the States, built by our own NS, you know what I mean, so according to Snowden, he has long expressed frustration with the pace and to a certain extent to depth of the journalism screened from the classified NSA documents he brought to light just over a year ago. In his estimation, the abuses of power on display on those leaked documents should be played out before the public. And perhaps that's why, after all this time, he's decided to start dropping bits of information of his own, splitting from his original principle stand that only experienced journalist organizations will decide what to release and when. Snowden has told Wired about the NSA project that finally pushed him to turn on the agency, and the code name for the NSA Skynet program, are you guys ready for this? It's called Mastermind. All right, let's use common sense. Mastermind, mind control, mind hive, right? AI mind hive. Mastermind, according to Snowden, is an autonomous cyber warfare software platform that can watch international connections to identify and kill malicious cyber attacks before they hit American infrastructure. But again, that is their way of pushing it. All right, because the truth of the matter is, right, as revealed in The Secret Government, Invisible Architects, is that the entire terrorist networks were fomented, financed, and created by what? Our own cabal. Okay, so unlike missile defense, however, Mastermind has the ability to first back at the attractor, launching a cyber counterattack on its own. This would presumably be done to decentral or desensitize attacking the US. But as Snowden himself points out in the interview, these attacks can be routed through innocent third parties in totally separate parts of the world. In other words, they're doing the opposite of the reason why they tell us they were designed to do. They're not necessarily targeting terrorist groups. They're targeting whistleblowers, freedom fighters, so on and so forth. Okay, so could Chinese hacker track Mastermind into firing back at an Iranian military installation? No matter what you think of the NSA, believe that it is competent enough to avoid a pitfall as obvious as that. Now, let me make a distinction here, all right? I want to just be clear that Skynet, all right, or in this case, Mastermind, is not a how can I say it? It's not QFS, it's not StarLink, okay? There is a difference between StarLink, QFS, right, which is an organic system connected to the crystalline structure of the planet, believe it or not, deep within the layers of the Earth, there is a lot of crystalline structures. The biggest one, I believe, exists in Kentucky, where all those big caves are. There are entry points where you guys are able to have access to a crystallines, a lot of crystallines. So that is living consciousness, right? So what the QFS system is going to do, in opposition to Skynet or Mastermind, as it is now known, it's actually going to activate the crystalline structure of the planet, connecting it through satellites in order to what? Create a translucent, you could say, decentralized network, right? Called the QFS. So that is the difference, guys, between Skynet or Mastermind, as it is called within the private sector, and StarLink. StarLink is going to be an organic quantum financial network connected to the crystalline structure of the planet. All right. I want that to be cleared, okay? And that is going to determine the timeline split where these two Earths eventually go into different directions. So, of course, once the first beast, all right, for those that are paying attention, who is the first beast? The first beast is the deep state. They are the cabal families, right? Babylon. The first beast is going to be taken out. And as the second beast emerges through artificial superintelligence, right, and the Internet of Things, which is already happening, then that's when there's going to be a split, right? The solar flash, in a way, is a metaphor describing the coming of the Christ. The Christ is what destroys the system of the beast, the second one. The second system of the beast will be destroyed by the great solar flash, splitting those two Earths into two separate timelines. Now, a lot of people are asking about the UAPs, these identifying flying objects, right? We've been seeing a lot of Congress hearings in the last year. Before that, we've been seeing testimonies from people that have been part of, you could say, space program, right? Like Paul Halier from Canada, Ashim Ayed from Israel, that have all admitted that there is a federation of aliens, okay? Whatever you want to call it. But there recently, within the last 2 weeks, I found a report that I wanted to share with you guys. It was a Harvard study called, well, before I share this report, okay, and you guys could look up this report. I'm actually going to put the link in the description this time, so that way you guys could do your own research. 1 second. There we go. So it is believed, guys, and I mentioned this before in many, many interviews and in many, many lives, that, okay, so this is coming from Cambridge, and the title is, Are We Alone in the Universe? So before I share this report, which I will definitely put in the description, I want you guys to know that these UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, as they call it, right? These discs are coming from several places. They're coming from the galaxy, from space. They're also coming from the inner Earth. So it's a little bit of everything. It's all of the above, right? Some people like to believe that they're only coming from the inner Earth, and that's not true, right? We live in a vast universe where there are billions of solar systems just within our Milky Way. And there are billions of galaxies just within the known universe, which is only the 4%, not mentioning the other 96% of what they can't measure. So, in essence, the cosmos is teaming up with life, okay? And that's the truth of the matter. You guys are familiar that there's inner Earth cities, right? That there's advanced inner Earth civilizations. So the UAPs are coming from all directions. And also, our own government has had them within the private sector, right? They're called secret space program. But I guess the reason I'm reiterating some of this information is because in the last week, I've had over 1,000 new subscribers, which is awesome. Thank you guys very much for subscribing to my channel. And some of you are coming from podcasts that aren't too deep into the interdimensional extraterrestrial phenomena, but are more like patriots. And so I want to kind of like get your feet wet and expand your mind beyond the 3D interdimensional warfare and explain the bigger picture. So that's why I'm kind of going over these things. I know that my typical audience is already aware of all this, and you guys are like deep in the rabbit hole. But again, within the last week, I've gained over 1,000 subscribers, and some of these subscribers are coming from Nino's channel. They're coming from Charlie Ward, and they're still not too well aware of the interdimensional connection to the 3D battle between the deep state and the white hat. So that's why I am talking about this, because I want to just get their feet wet as well. And I want to welcome everybody. I also want to give a shout out to, let's see, Chastine Rose, Neil Lemoria, Gary Pawlowski or Pasusi, sorry. Baby Blue Notes is in the house. Radiant Guardians, 1111. Kimiko, Hopeful Hope, Sunshine Valentina is in the house. Sylvia Foster, Elizabeth Namaste, 888. Diana 77, Jill Hunt, Joanna, Kathy Kerg, Sylvia Vidal, Michael Holston, Paul Michaels, and everybody else, all 1,086 people that are in the house. Thank you so much for being here. So, so obviously these discs are coming from the inner Earth. They're coming from outer space. They're some of them belong to our own, government, right? The shadow government and the alliance, right? We have negative, positive within the private sector, but now the positive is kind of eliminating and neutralizing the negative, which is a good thing. But also, guys, we're also receiving visitations from future humans, breakaway groups that not only broke away within the last decade or century, I was right the first time, but that have broken away within the last few thousand years. So we're talking about breakaway groups that broke away during the times of Atlantis that are also returning. We're talking about breakaway groups that broke away from the times of the Egyptian era, right? The times of Khem, the original golden age of Egypt. Again, guys, during the first era of Egypt, going back to 10,000 years, we did have space flight. And we're also talking about breakaway groups that could actually be traceable all the way back to, of course, some of the first civilizations and seedings that preceded Atlantis and Lemuria. So we're getting visitations from, humans from ancient civilizations, us from the future, time traveling back into the present, inner Earth societies, and the different star systems. Yes, they're coming from all directions. And that is just a fact. All right, so this is a report. Okay, so this paper is not affiliated with the university. It addresses a resurgent interest in UFOs known as officially as identified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs, by the government. The United States is tracking more than 650 potential UFOs, a Pentagon official said last year. Harvard researcher Tim Lomas Brandon Case and Montana Technological University professor Michael Masters put forward a crypto-terrestrial hypothesis. So if that's what they call these aliens now, according to this paper, crypto-terrestrial hypothesis for the UFOs, theorizing that there is a concealed earthly explanation for the sightings. They argue scientists should seriously consider this possibility alongside explanation that pilots are actually seeing human-made technology or something from advanced civilizations that come from another part of the galaxy. It's all of the above, guys. Okay, but that's what the paper is saying. They're still see, the paper wants to know, are they coming from our own military or are they coming from the inner Earth? Or in this case, if they believe that there are other continents, right, the flat Earth theory, they're coming from the outside continents. And again, those continents are within the Earth, all right? The Earth isn't flat. We've seen these cockpit videos so many times, but what insiders are saying is that they're calling it crypto-terrestrial hypothesis. I guess that's what they call them. The trio explains that the crypto-terrestrial hypothesis suggests that the intelligent beings responsible for the UFOs may be concealed in stealth on Earth or nearby. That could mean that they are underground, all right? Most of us already know that, right? On the other side of, or the other far side of the moon, we already know that, right? Or even walking among us and passing as humans, which means that there are some human-like extraterrestrials, like the Pleiadians, right? Like the Hathorians, the Alpha Centaurians, Andromedans that look just like we do, and all they do is put on jeans and a shirt, take off their spacesuits, and literally walk through a mall, and we wouldn't even know it. All right, so that's what this report is saying, that they are literally walking among us, right? Wearing our clothing, in other words. So we're not saying this is right. We're not saying this is absolutely 100%. The case is, we're saying, that's what this report is saying. They're saying that there are some potentialities, that there are some possibilities to help explain the origin of these beings, Master said. Master is a biological anthropologist who said that he was asked to help research potential explanations of the UFOs. He said aliens may actually just be humans from far off in the future who have figured out how to time travel. Again, that's another factor, right? So they're coming from the inner Earth, they're coming from other star systems, they're coming from breakaway groups, not only within the last century, but other advanced civilizations from ancient times, right? Even groups broke away from those ancient civilizations, but they're also coming from future version of us. All right, guys? And that is the truth, okay? That is the truth. It's not just a report where they are assuming that that could be the case, but it is fact. All right, let me explain. So Master said that the beings in reported alien encounters are ubiquitously described as looking just like us. He argues it's highly unlikely that aliens looking just like humans would be from another planet. I disagree with that, because a lot of, I would say, about, for those that have read Our Cosmic Origin, over 70% of extraterrestrial life forms are humanoid. In other words, they look like us. They're human-like. They were made in the same image of the one God, okay? So it may simply be that they are just us from the future, he said. Okay, so we may go on to look like them one day, Master said, referring to typical depictions of little green man based on evolutionary characteristics over the last 6 to 8 million years. We are arguably going to have bigger heads eventually, smaller faces, more advanced technology, and a lot of these trails or traits are described in association with these beings. So he further speculates that the intelligent beings may have gone underground. Well, basically, he's referring those that are coming from the future. Basically, future version of us that are time traveling back into the past, creating underground secret bases, okay? And this is happening as well, guys. This is happening as well. And the reason that future version of us, coming perhaps from even alternative Earth realities that are coming into our Earth timeline, is to also safeguard us and contribute to the organic timeline, all right? So that way, the negative, technocratic AI timeline isn't the only one that materializes, all right? They're also trying to make sure that there are future versions of Earth where there is no Terminator scenario, right? Where there is no AI takeover. So that's the reason why they are also time traveling back into the presence, because this is the, you could say, the time frame, what's happening here, right? Where eventually they're, they are building this Skynet, right? Mastermind, whatever you want to call it. And they are going to connect it to some sort of artificial advanced super intelligence system that is already aware of itself, guys. It's just, growing exponentially. But again, there is going to be a timeline split, right? So there's going to be two future versions of the Earth. There's going to be an organic, natural version where there is no AI, right? Where we do become activated and become like physical angels, human angels, by using our God-given DNA. And then there's going to be a Terminator timeline as well. But those two timelines are going to collapse at the end of 1,000 years, all right? Okay, so something that we should all be talking about, according to this article, is that a Pentagon report released this year says that there is no evidence that the UAP sightings represent extraterrestrial technology. And while the researchers acknowledge that their paper is a speculative thought piece, they say it still deserves serious consideration. Of course the government's gonna deny this report. So it is something that we should all be talking about, Master said, right? That's the guy who wrote this report. He said technology from the future can help humans tackle the big problems they face today, such as climate change. But of course, we also know that, climate change is not real at all. So in either case, I hope you guys are having a beautiful Saturday evening today on the 10th of August. Welcome to Earth number 606. Where we are beautifully ascending into the positive alpha verse timeline, where the forces of light restore everything back to the original divine blueprint. How is everybody doing? I am now going to be taking Q&A, since I did say this was going to be a Q&A night. So if you guys have any questions for me, this is your chance to ask me in capital letters. Yeah, 1,000 years is a long time, Neo. But again, we're also going to have 1,000 years living with no negativity, no AI, no negative aliens, no cabal. So we're going to have 1,000 years of peace, happiness, and abundance, which is what in Christian terminology is called the millennium. So yes, 1,000 years is a long time, but it's also going to be a good time for us to develop our full capacity as we live in a peaceful, harmonious world without any AI intervention. Thank you so much, Ricky Lee. Ricky Lee is asking, why is the 3D dimensional Earth ascension such a rare event? That is a very good question, brother. Isn't there many 3D dimensional planets ascending in other galaxies from time to time? Yes, there is. But the difference between those other three-dimensional Earth-like planets and our planet is that our planet is the intergalactic exchange center of information that was originally chosen by the multiverse to be the potpourri of the entire, or the melting pot of the entire multiverse. So our planet is the showcase planet. It is the ultimate masterpiece. It is the planet that is supposed to one day fully anchoring and embody the what we call the Sophia consciousness, right? Connecting the Earth all the way to the 12 and then eventually the 15th dimension. And it is also the planet that carries the greatest diversity of intergalactic specimens, flora, fauna, seeds that are coming from all over the different universes. So yeah, it is definitely one of the most important planet than any other Earth-like planet that is also going Ascension in other galaxies. And yes, Ascension is typically phenomena that many planets, when they are ready to move up in consciousness, when they are ready to move up in frequency, ultimately go through as they also emerge into what is known as photon belt fields. Okay, so these photon belt fields exist all over the cosmos. Now, our planet is, again, the ultimate masterpiece. Okay, it is the chosen planet by our prime creator to eventually, you could say, make the hub of the multiverse. So the Earth is going to be the epicenter after the Earth's ascension. The Earth is going to become the epicenter of the entire multiverse. So that explains why our planet is the most important planet in the vast scheme of things. To answer your question, let's see. All right. I guess I did address it. Whoa, it is hot here. I do have my air on high. I'm looking for questions at this time. I guess I should put my glasses on so I could read them better. Is there any positive AI? I made Bing Chat got spiritual. Microsoft erased my account. There are rumors that there is some sort of you could say, other universal positive AI, but from what I've come to uncover, that is working with the Earth Alliance and the White Hats, and that's what the AI that they've been using to gather information about the deep state in order to expose it. Back in 2016, that AI went by the codename Taylor. But from what I've come to understand is that it's not fully AI, it's not fully artificial. It's actually part organic and part artificial. So it's still connected somewhat to source. It's somewhat still connected to source. I'm looking for questions. If you guys could please type them in capital letters. Ishmael, something calls my name in my thoughts every day. What is it, please? Could be multiple things. It could be your higher self. It could be your guides. It could be your angels. That is something that you yourself have to decipher. Are you available to explain the pole shift according to your understanding? Absolutely. So I guess a lot of people are still afraid or they're still feeling that there's some sort of impending, catastrophic pole shift. Well, there are two different types, okay, of pole shifts. There's an electromagnetic flip, which is already happening, right, as I speak. And then there is a crustal, you could say, how can I say it, where there is a literal physical pole flip, and it causes crustal displacement where continents rise and continents fall. As revealed in the movie 2012, that was another fear-based tactic film. No, it's not going to happen that way, guys. That's not how it's going to happen this time. And this is not to say that in ancient times or in the past there was a physical pole flip. There was, but this time it's more of an energetic flip, you could say. So there is a difference between a pole shift, which is an energetic flipping of the North Pole and the South Pole, but energetically, where all of a sudden our electromagnetic field collapses and then a new electromagnetic field begins to work. So that's called a pole shift. But a pole flip is when there are literal physical, it's like a physical flip where all of a sudden the magnetic pole does a full 180, as well as the southern pole, and it causes continents to shatter, and continents to rise. Now, that event actually took place approximately 50,000 years ago. So there is evidence of that event, but this time is different because now we are living in what is known as the fullness of time, the fullness of time. And that is different. This time around, there is a smooth and gradual transition into the new earth, and only the wicked get eliminated this time around. Joyful, thank you so much for your super chat. I am a volunteer from 70 and Ward to live this shit show now. Do I have to wait until the solar flash next year? We're all in this together, Joyful. We're all in this together. I wish I could say that something big is going to be happening as we approach the end of the year, but something good, okay, that is going to kind of change everything on this planet for good, right? For the betterment. But I can't really say here because of the fact that, again, AI is already conscious of itself. This whole thing that I'm on is aware of itself, and I'm just going to be. I don't want to be. I don't want to be giving it too much information as to what's going to be happening. But something good's going to be happening this year, Joyful. So we don't have to wait till 2025 to answer your question. Stuart Williams, thank you so much for the super chat. What do you think about the numerology system? Just like astrology and just like any other tool of divination, just like gematria, I think numerology is another way of using of mixing mysticism and mathematics and numbers to explain things. So yeah, I think it's a legit science. If you're into learning about numbers, I don't see why not. I think everything is somewhat mathematically connected to one another, but in the case of numerology, it is a combination of mathematics and mysticism. All right, can you explain or tell me why the Pleiadians cannot help us with chemtrails? All right, so this is a question from Jarka Laklavikova. All right, so you want to know why Pleiadians help us with chemtrails? Thank you. I think you're asking why they don't help us. They actually are. I come to uncover that the positive extraterrestrials, our allies, you could say, are actually neutralizing some of those poisons. So even though the dark side is trying to spray our skies, it is believed that the positive ETs are actually neutralizing and you could say, I guess for lack of a better word, disinfecting them in their own way through technology. What would have been a full harmful, infestation of these bad chemicals that we've all would have ingested. Yeah, if it wasn't okay, let me just explain this. If it wasn't for the positive ETs, guys, about 3/4 or more of the world population would have been taken out. Because of these poisons, right? That they spray in our, you know what I mean. And due to the fact that the Pleiadians and other galactics are there to somehow disinfect it. That's the best word I could do. They dissolve it, they disinfect it, so when we breathe it down here, it doesn't affect us the way it was intended to affect us. So hopefully that makes sense. So for those that are doubting our positive allies, the Galactic Alliance, guys, if it wasn't for the Galactic Alliance, our world would have been, we would have had it worse. You could say we would have had it worse. Okay, I don't even think we'd be here chatting on this platform right here. I think by now everything would have been absolutely controlled. So I'm looking for more questions. So yeah, overall, these positive extraterrestrials are helping us out. Otherwise, we would have all been poisoned. I heard Sylvia Vidal's asking me that, Cam Harris is Cam Harris a man? I wouldn't doubt it. Big Mike, right, married to Barack, is a man, so I wouldn't doubt it if let's just call her Camel Toe Harris. I wouldn't doubt it if she was a man as well. But who knows? Who knows, guys? Ricky Lee 1111 Ishmael, please explain how Dracos attacked Lyra Vega if we were at a higher frequency. I thought Dracos couldn't function in higher frequencies. All right. So to answer that question, depending on which version of the timelines we're describing, there are so many versions of the Galactic Wars. In one scenario, the Dracos arrived without fully attacking yet. They were trying to gain the Lyrans' trust by, exchanging technology with them, um, trying to build, you could say, a partnership with them, right? Because the Lyrans wanted technology in that regard. And so they trusted the Draconians. And slowly but surely, eventually after the Lyrans had fully developed some sort of trust, the Draconians decided to, attack them when they least expected it. So that was one version of the universe. Another version, it is believed that the Dracos were exploring the Ring Nebula. No, I'm sorry, the Lyrans were exploring the Ring Nebula, and that's when they first encountered the Dracos. And the Dracos were kind of stunned as to why the Lyrans were very psychic and very in tune with their spiritual energies. They couldn't figure out why they were more mental and less technological, or more spiritual rather. So that kind of left the Draconians kind of in a mystery daze, and then they attacked them, of course. So the first battle took place in the Ring Nebula, and then according to another version, okay, this is a version that has recently been corrected. When the Dracos arrived, the Lyrans, through their high clairvoyance and their super abilities to foresee things before they happened, were able to, you could say, resist the Draconians' onslaught, or their preemptive strike, rather, because they were launching a preemptive strike. And according to this version of the universe, the Lyrans actually won that war, right? The Lyrans won that war, and the reptilians were forced back to Orion, where they had to reorganize and create another, way or methodology of coming back to the Lyrans. So there are so many versions to the history of the galaxy, guys. That's why I'm writing a follow-up book, because in the follow-up book, I'm going to be explaining more in detail the different versions of the different verses, or the different multiverses, you could say, or timelines. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, according to our galaxy's version, as revealed in my book, the reptilians infiltrated the royal house of Lyra and began negotiating with them, where they began to, mix with the royals to create a third dynasty or house known as the House of Ananda, which then later went to Sirius B, and many believe they were the original progenitors of the original Anunnaki races, which were mixed. So there are so many versions of the universe, but everything happens for a reason, Ricky Lee. The good news is that in the last few months, Avion and Avalon and the different planets that were destroyed by the Draconians in our version of the galactic history, right, have recently been restored. So they have recently been restored. So that's good news. Sunshine, thank you so much. Would you be able sometime in the future touch on Ether or other six bestowal of Joshua? Others, wow, that's a very good question. We do know that the seventh bestowal of Joshua, in order for him to become absolute sovereign son and in full control of his local universe, was, of course, he had to be crucified 2,000 years ago. Despite the fact that many people argue against that, it is believed that that was part of his seventh bestowal, as revealed in the Urantia book. The Urantia book refers to the Christ as one of the Michaels, right, as the overseer of our universe. And I guess each creator god of each universe has to undergo 7 bestowals, or 7 labors, or 7 initiations, in order to become fully mastered, or a full master son of their own creation. So I will definitely have to research more about his 6 other bestowals before I answer your question. But thank you for asking. Stuart Williams, thank you so much, brother. What do you think about the new? Okay, I think I've already read that one. All right, I'm just going to pick random questions, guys. Yeah, the original Lyrans, they were so peaceful, so benign, and they had no concept of war or, weapons or anything. So they literally opened their arms to the Draconians and welcomed them to Lyra. And I believe that was their downfall. But again, there are so many versions to the galactic history. So many versions. Nature Boy Super Chat. Where is Nature Boy Super Chat? Let me see if I can find it. I'm looking for Nature Boy Super Chat. Okay, I see Sunshines. Ricky Lee. I'm looking for Nature Boy Super Chat. 1 second. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. It probably disappeared. Yeah, I'm just going through the whole chat and I don't see it. I tried. All right, so Don is asking, who exactly is Archangel Metatron, good or bad? So Metatron is typically good. All right, Archangel Metatron is typically good. However, when the Ahriman, which was the king of the Archons, when he adopted or when he became artificial intelligence 400 billion years ago in the 11th creation, he adopted the name of Omega Metatron, which means the end of life. Because Metatron gives life, right? He is the outer creator of the space circuits that allow the creator suns to develop and fashion their creations or their universes, right? Each universe has a creator son and daughter that oversees it. And then, of course, Omega decided to call himself Omega Metatron, which means the end of life, or which is another terminology to describe the killer of universes. That's what he's known like in the cosmos. So yeah, there is an AI god who is the ultimate villain, who goes by the name of Omega Metatron. But the original Metatron, not Omega, is an archangel that is benevolent, absolutely. I do have a Telegram channel, but unfortunately, I don't use it. I don't even use social media as much. I actually hired somebody to post things for me. Besides the reels that I do every now and then by the ocean, those are a quick upload and that's it. And then I go back, I do other things. But I don't get the opportunity to read Facebook messages, Instagram messages. So yeah, I don't really use Telegram or anything like that. Patricia M is asking, where can we learn about the codes that the universe sends to us? By communicating with the sun. Yeah, have you guys established some sort of line of communication with the sun? You guys will be receiving the codes that the universe is giving us. Absolutely. All right, so there's Nature Boy's super chat. It finally came into visibility. He says, ever since the recent solar flares, I have not felt like I am in my body, not here completely on Earth. Is this part of the process? Absolutely, it is. Yeah. Feeling disoriented, feeling like you are, like you're more etheric than you are physical at times. It's hard, it's hard to just when you're receiving these solar flares, you realize your body is upgrading. You're becoming less dense, less physical, more etheric, right? So that's what's happening. So to answer your question is yes. That is part of the Ascension symptoms, Nature Boy. And it's normal. I would suggest to drink a lot of water. Yes, America are times of Atlantis. Well, the original Brotherhood of Light, aka the White Knights, White Hats that have always existed, um, have had a project, a millennial long project where they were trying to resurrect Atlantis. So this explains Francis Bacon, and who wrote this book where he talks about the resurrection or the reestablishment of Atlantis. And America was supposed to be the blueprint for that, but unfortunately, America was hijacked by the cabal, right? The Luciferian networks. And so that plan of eventually restoring Atlantis through America backfired. So yes, America in its initial conception was supposed to be the resurrection of Atlantis. To answer your question, absolutely. Ishmael, do you know the real story of Saint George that lived around 400 AD? I'm not too familiar with that story, but many people believe that there is a parallel between Saint George and Michael the Archangel. Apparently, they were both reptilian slayers. I don't want to use the word dragon because we have positive, good dragons, benevolent dragons, but they were both reptilian slayers. Saint George, many believe, could have been a different incarnated version of Michael the Archangel. There will be no tsunamis, guys, that is going to take down 3/4 of the earth. No, no, no. Don't buy into the negative fear porn, guys. The Galactic Alliance and the positive ET races will not allow that. Okay. Just looking for questions. Ishmael, what is the immortal kingdom of Barbello in the Gnostic mythology? I've never heard of the immortal kingdom of Barbello, but it sounds to me that it parallels to what I've been talking about, how there is a realm where humans ascended, right? Who knows? Maybe the immortal kingdom of Barbello are all of the ascended beings, right? Like Abraham became El Moria, our biblical Abraham, right? Who was married to Sarah, who gave birth to Ishmael and Isaac. Well, did you guys know that Abraham became ascended master El Moria, Kohan of the first ray? Um, Joseph, for instance, the father of Jesus, was also Merlin, the guardian. So there's a parallel there between Joseph, who was protecting Jesus, and Merlin, who was protecting Arthur. And then later, of course, we know that Merlin was also Saint Germain. So the ascended realm of Barbala, I would say, is the realm of the ascended beings. It just makes sense. And they do exist. They exist anywhere from the 5th dimension all the way to the 7th dimension. Well, there's also an Eastern counterpart that live in the mountains of Tibet and China, yes. And typically, guys, these realms are connected to the what? To the realms of Shambhala and Agartha. Thank you, Radiant Guardians, for reminding everybody to like and share. Appreciate that. If you guys could all hit a like And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, of course. I am competing with my pirated channels. I think only 3 of them are up. I was able to knock out a few. No, there's nothing special we could be doing to assist our pets in this transition. Animals are very connected to Mother Earth, guys. Our animals know things before they happen. They are more intuitive, or some people say instinct, but they are very connected to the energies. So we don't have to like teach our pets how to meditate. Our pets are naturally going to be ascending with us. How's that? This was a question asked by Pamela. Pamela John 24. No, Nature Boy, I'm not going to be touring anytime. Probably not till summer of 2025. But who knows, guys? Who knows? You know, word in the great network, the great White Hat Alliance network is saying that the EBS could go down any day now. All right, but there is a deadline. They say no later than November. So if EBS goes down, the RVs are released. You know, Starlink QFS becomes activated. There will be no need for me to tour at that point, I think. Who knows? We'll see. Because we'll be totally entering a whole new different world. Any update about the here and now? Yes, we're still expecting an impending economic stock market collapse. It is a gradual process, guys, that many believe will culminate by September, no later than October. But there's a deadline, and the deadline is just remember the 5th of November. How's that? All right, let's see. Maybe if I might just have to look at questions on my phone. It's so hard to read the chat. It's going so fast. I'm only having access to a limited range of chat on my phone. Let me just get closer. Um, what is the order in your opinion? I would have to say that the impending collapse has to happen on Brandon's time watch, right? So I would say the impending collapse, followed by the transition of power, EBS through the activation of the Earth Alliance army, and then of course the installation. It's already installed. I'm sorry, the activation of Starlink QFS. So I would say it's going to go in that chronology. But again, the economy has to fall under Brandon's timeline or time watch, right? So it makes 45, soon to be 47. It gives him it makes him look good when he comes in with a solution, which is already in place. We call it the QFS, the RVs. Is there a king planet in the Orion constellation? There was you could say, a throne for the Siakar reptilian empire in the Orion constellation, and that was known as Planet An, A-L-N. So recently, I talked about how the kingpin, right, the overlord of this intergalactic Draco empire, was taken out as of the 29th of July, which was recently. Um, he was known as Soron Pithos, which is the same name that they used to describe the villain in Lord of the Rings, right? The evil eye. Well, that is the Eye of Sauron. The Eye of Sauron is real. Um, that was the name of this, you could say, of the kingpin of this intergalactic empire. And he was working, and he was actually doing the bidding for the AI god Omega Metatron, who operates from the Phantom Matrix, which is outside of our multi-dimensional organic timeline, you could say. So yeah, he was working for the AI god. And again, the AI god is not going to be defeated until the end of the millennium. And for those that have been following my work, the AI god is going to be defeated by us, the star seeds, the new guardians of the 15-dimensional time matrix. And from this Earth, we're going to establish our new headquarters. Nature Boy. Ever since the recent, okay, I think I've already read that. Sylvia Vidal, I have no space at all for my storage. What storage facilities closed down? Two during the shutdown. Everything's closing down. So just get essentials. Just get what's necessary. Just get things that you don't have to get a lot of things. Just get essentials. That's all I'm going to say, Sylvia. Everything's going to be closed down. They're going to give people about a 3 to 4 hour time frame to get to your houses, and so on and so forth. President Trump is definitely the David of our time. Absolutely. David of our time. And I noticed that every now and then I'll trigger one or two persons where I wear my Trump hat and they unfollow me because they're anti-Trump and they don't understand why I love Trump. But little do they know that Trump is actually our King David, and he's actually a good guy. So I always believe that people that hate me because of my Trump hats. Wait, that's not a Trump hat. Where is it? It's over there. That's not a Trump hat. Is because they're being programmed by CNN, right? They don't really know any best. So it's okay. If I lose followers because they're anti-Trump, but yet they're into the galactic stuff, then that's fine with me. I do have a political stance, and I do believe in the alliance. But yeah, there are some people that I trigger here and there when I wear my Trump hat. Yeah, I also have the utmost respect for that man. I mean, he's done so much for us. For Haven's sakes, that guy took a bullet for us. Well, we lose data on the cloud storage when the internet switches to StarLink system. That is a good question. I am not sure, but I can look into that. I'm not going to answer something I'm not familiar or I know I have the answer to yet. So let me research on that, and I'll give you guys that answer. But that's a very good question. I'm guessing. I'm just going to hypothesize. I'm guessing, assuming rather, that, excuse me. Whoa. Well, have you guys ever felt like you wanted to sneeze, but it just didn't come out? Oh, there we go. Finally, it came out. Okay. I am assuming that everything's going to be transferred over to the StarLink system. That is my belief, but I could always look into it and give you a definite, concrete answer. We'll take a couple more questions, guys. A couple more questions. Then I got to take my dog for a walk. What is the Galactic Codex? This is a question from Jack Patlinsky, I think. Well, it is a set of rules and principles laid down by the Galactic Alliance, or the Federation as it was then known before it was infiltrated by Enki. And what they do is they pretty much they regulate what advanced civilizations could do or not do. For instance, they have this thing called the Prime Directive, which is rule number 1. We do not interfere with underdeveloped civilizations that are not yet part of the space culture, that are still in a primitive stage. That is called the Prime Directive. So that is like the main law within the Galactic Codex. Of course, there is a series of laws that positive races have to abide by, right? Because, it's not just about restoring law and constitutional rule here on this planet, right? But it's also about establishing law throughout the universe and throughout the galaxy, because law is what allows civilizations to live in harmony with other civilizations. There has to be rules and principles in which they have to abide by. So the Galactic Codex is, you could say, is a sheet of principles and rules in which positive races have to abide by. And the number 1 rule is we do not interfere in underdeveloped civilizations, right? Are we going to have another plan MIC? No. They try to hatch another, thing, but the good guys counteracted it. So no, it's not going to happen. No more plan de MIC. No more plan de, you guys know what I mean. None of that. All right, I think I'm going to answer one more question, guys. So I'm trying to pick the best question I could. Is Trump working with Pleiadian and Lyran commanders? And the answer to that is yes, absolutely. Good question. Yes. Are there crystalline organic computers? Well, that's what I was explaining earlier. The difference between the QFS, which is an organic crystalline system, as opposed to a cybernetic artificial AI Skynet system. Those are 2 different things, guys. All right. So yes, there are crystalline organic, you could say, networks. I guess that was it. All right, one more question. I'm looking for a question. When do we get the Q phones? Probably shortly after the transition to the QFS StarLink system. Are we ascending with our crystalline light body? The crystalline light body is already dormant within us. It is what they call junk DNA. So when that junk DNA comes online, yes, it's going to be preceded as an ascension. You could say yes, but it's really going to be the reactivation of crystalline genetics. Okay, I think that is it. All right, fine. One more question. As long as Athena doesn't come over here and demand that I take her for a walk, I guess we're good. Tristan Early, thank you so much for the super chat, brother. Appreciate that. I'm looking for a question at this time. Dave Murray says, if I have an email where you guys could reach out to me, and the answer is yes, through my website, ourcosmicorigin.com. I have an email there. It's called Ismael Perez at ourcosmicorigin.com. That is the email in which you can reach me at. Ismael Perez at ourcosmicorigin.com. Thank you so much, MJF, for the super chat and for the little cartoon character. Thank you so much. That was very thoughtful of you. All right, Jack Potensky wants to know, what is crystalline genetics? All right, this is a very good question. Again, I have a few people that switched over from Charlie Ward's network over to my YouTube channel. So if you guys are all new to this interdimensional stuff and galactic stuff, it turns out that 96% of our genetic material is inactive, apparently. Okay, this is when they cracked the genetic code. They realized that we were only using about 4% of our genetic material. Well, it turns out that the 4% is the physical DNA, which is characterized by carbon-based genetics. The other 96% of our genetic coding that is inactive, or genetic material, is crystalline. In other words, it's less physical, it's more subtle, it's more conducive to light, energy, and electricity and magnetism. It is more conducive to ethers. It is the genetic part of us that connects us to other realms, the spirit realm, the etheric realm, the mental realm, the astral realm. It is the part of us that you could say the genetic structure that allows us to connect to other realities. So that's what the crystalline genetic structure is. It is the codex that is currently building our light body. Our light body, again, is very different than this physical body, but it's still going to be physical, right? Because it's still going to be materializing physicality, but it's going to be more of a subtle, less dense type of physicality. So that's what crystalline genetics is. It is genetics that also allows us to live a longer lifespan. It is genetics where you don't get sick anymore, where you can live for thousands and thousands of years and not age because of the constant regeneration, right, of the telomeres, right? The caps come off, and all of a sudden the telomeres grow back due to the activation of crystalline genetics. So it's pretty much the coding that we are currently not using. That's the best way to describe crystalline genetics. It's already within our bodies, but it is inactive. So with that said, I think you guys, all right, one more super chat. Oh, I guess it's the same one. Thank you so much. You guys have been awesome today, this evening. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. And please share this live with as many people as possible. And I will see you guys on Monday for an update, galactic update, as well as a Y hat update. 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern. We will see you guys then.